no, ma'am. We do not get to get in here. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Get off. So I'm going to harvest some of my chamomile, probably some spinach, and some of this sage. Now the sage will continue to grow back. It needed to be actually harvested a while ago, but it'll continue to grow throughout the summer. But this will be my first harvest of this for this year, so I thought I could show you guys. So I'm going to go down to wherever there is new growth, and I'm going to cut right above that new growth. So anything, see these two little leaves? So anything under that, I can leave, I can take off, but I don't want to cut the stem below where these new leaves are. So if I go down here, there is some I could probably get by with, but I'm more comfortable cutting it here. And so I've got a nice big bunch here. And I'm going to continue to do that all around the plant. So I cut this nice long stem a little longer because I'm going to actually propagate a few of these. And so what I'll do is I'll take off these bottom leaves. So I have a nice good long stem, and I'll put this in some water near some in the sun in the house, and it will start to take root, and then I can put it in soil and have another sage plant. Alright, so we gave it a pretty good haircut. There's probably some that I can still cut off, but I'm going to be able to harvest this again in about 2 weeks. It'll be nice and big again. So I've got a bit, this is quite a big bowl, and I've got a lot of sage in here that I'm going to dry. Also, you can see that my cilantro is bolting, which is you know, that is what it is. As hot as it is, I've tried to prune it and save it, but I just can't. There's no saving it now. I do have some carrots growing here. Some of them survived, and I'm just letting them go. I was going to pull them out, but I am just letting them go. And there's Mama and some of her babies. I think only 2 of them have survived. For whatever reason, only 4 or 5 hatched, and I think one of those 5 died shortly after, and then she had 3 for the longest time, and now she has 2, but we're just letting her do her thing and take care of them how she sees fit. And yeah, I'm just not really sure what happened. We had a really heavy thunderstorm with some heavy rain. I don't know if that's when she lost it or what. They seem to be doing really good. The onions and garlic and peas are doing really good. We've actually harvested some of these mammoth ones. You can see they're right there. They're going to get bigger than that. So I won't harvest the ones that are on here now. But yeah, they're getting up this trellis pretty good. These are the regular sugar snap peas, and they're growing a little bit slower. They're not as big. The pea pods are not as big either, so they're just kind of coming along a little bit slower. Also, Riley come out here and harvested a head of lettuce for us last night, and got my other lettuce quite dirty in the process, so I'm gonna have to spray this off. But we have been picking a lot of this. I've been waiting for these to kind of come to head. They're ready now. Obviously, we ate one for dinner last night. It'll probably, actually, because we had potatoes with some leftover chili I made, like loaded potatoes. Oh no, ma'am. We do not get to get in here. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Get off. This is not for you. No. Sorry. Look here. Look here. There you go. You can't be in my bed eating my food. We'll share, but you can't be stealing. Okay. Back to what we were talking about. So we had a very light dinner last night, and a salad was just a little part of it. So we only needed one head. But if everybody was doing a big salad, we would need 2 or 3 of these once they're all cut up. Then I've got some spinach I'm going to harvest today, and probably just eat it for lunch. I mean, there's a lot here. I can wash it and put it in the fridge, and it'll be fine for a few days. Like I said, this is not enough for me to preserve. I would have to have so much of this. It's actually doing really well. My best spring crop so far with spinach. But in the fall, when the main garden is done, I plan to plant lots of rows of spinach and put up lots of spinach for the winter. So this is coming along. I'm gonna have to harvest some of it. This celery is also doing good. The other's still in the greenhouse. I will show you that here in a minute. But it's coming along. Everything's doing really, really good. Garlic, you can tell it's coming up on harvest time for it. So what will happen is the leaves, the outer leaves will start dying off. Some of them's already got it. That means however many layers you've got wrapped around your clove of garlic. So like right here, we've got 3. I think I like to see 6, 6 to 7 or something like that before I actually harvest my garlic. It should be done about the beginning of June, and these onions are doing wonderful, and you'll know they're ready when the tops fall off. But I can come and harvest these for green onions, the tops of these. But I am really, really pleased at how these onions are doing in these raised beds. So much better than in the big garden. So it's a little damp this morning. There's still a lot of dew on the ground. I was trying to get out here and get this filmed before it got too hot, and I have a lot of other things I'm doing today. So I'm not going to walk down there. I have an injury on my foot and I have to keep it wrapped in a bandage, and I have sandals on. So I do not want to go walk and chance sinking in the dirt. But we did get a lot done in our big garden. We got it tilled the other day. We planted our tomatoes out, and we actually planted this whole side out. So we've got 3 rows of beans, a row of okra, and a row of those homemade pickling cucumbers that you can harvest at any size that I talked about in my what seeds I bought video. And then we have a row of the straight 8 cucumbers. And then over here, we've got our tomatoes. We've got 14 tomatoes per row. Each row is one specific type of tomato. With the exception of the second row, we have 7 and 7. So we have 7 of one type and 7 of another. Those are the Dr. Witchy and the purple, Cherokee purple, because those are not like necessarily our favorite. We like the red tomatoes for canning and stuff, but I did want to try those and see how we like them, if we want to make a bigger space in the garden for them next year or not, or if we can put in something else next year. So that's what those are. And then we've got the German pinks right here, and then on the next 3rd row is the beefsteak, and then lastly the San Marzano. So they're all in, doing well. We did have that heavy rain that kind of come through down here and went through the garden. That was not an issue when we moved this garden to doing it this way instead of the other way. That really put a stop to those heavy ruts whenever we get these big rains. So I'm very pleased with that. This worked last year. This is the kind of the path, and it didn't pose a threat to anything. So it actually worked out really good. Over here, we're going to do our peppers and our squashes. We were waiting until this coming weekend to do that because we are planting by the signs, and it was not quite warm enough last week for the peppers when we did the tomatoes, and so I was letting them grow up a little bit more and waiting for the temperatures to come up a little bit more. We did have a very cold day a few days ago and a very cold night as well, so we just had to So thankfully I did not put my peppers out because it would have really killed or stunted them. But we will get all of that out this coming weekend. So this chamomile I really need to harvest as well, but it's still a little early. I also wanted to show you guys over here next to the bees, we have these dianthus that I planted in like a pollinator mix several years ago. Before anything was here, I come over here and I had raked the ground up and I sprinkled that cheap box of clearance seeds, and I didn't think they'd do anything. And last year they come up pretty good. The year before they did a little bit, and then last year I thought they'd come up really good, but this year they have just kind of spread and blossomed. I've actually cut a lot of these for some arrangements in the house. Riley will come out here and cut some, and they hold up beautifully, and they're just gorgeous, and I love looking at them. I love my little flower patch over here. They've been up for several weeks now, and then later on in the summer this comes up with some other flowers. I can't remember what all they are, but I love looking at these. So the greenhouse is a little bit of a mess. I have been so busy the last few days. I've been in here, but I've not really like tidied anything up. I've just come in here, watered and stuff as I needed, and got out of here. But the peppers are doing fantastic. They have come up so much. I think I've got the aphids under control. Even these habaneras that was struggling, they've came up so much more. I have been spraying them with neem oil to battle those aphids. I finally got rid of them for the most part, and that's just really allowed these peppers to take off and be much healthier. Now I've got a few tomatoes left. I had quite a few left after we got done planting the garden, and I've sold those. I made a post on Facebook, and I've sold all but these. I've still got to give each of our parents some. They wanted just a couple plants to grow some tomatoes, and so we're going to give those to them and to friends. What's left, you know, there's just a couple of each one, and then I've got quite a few of these Cherokee purples, but then just a couple of the other ones. But these tomato plants already have blossoms on them, so they're really good, nice big healthy plants. This one is needing staked up because they're so big. They're definitely grown out of these containers. They need to be put out. Also, I got some lovely flowers for Mother's Day. I've got this one at church Sunday, and then Riley picked out this. It is also a diantha. And then I've got this rosemary. It really needs to go out too, but I'm not going to plant anything. I'm going to follow the signs. Here in a couple days I can come out and I can plant all of my things and don't have to worry about that anymore. I just got to get it all in the ground that day. So a little update over here. The zinnias are coming up really good. I've got some straw flowers that are coming up. They're a little slower to germinate. I had some watermelon going. None of them are coming up yet. I've got a couple trays and they're not coming up yet. This is the celery I started from seed, and I just took it and thinned it out. And then this one, this tray has got some straw flowers coming up where I ruffled it up that day, and they seem to be doing good. There's nothing coming up in the areas that I didn't. So I will definitely for sure be planting my straw flowers in the 6-packs from now on. I've got this crazy calendula. I've got several of these plants, 7 of them here, and this one's even got a blossom on it, a little flower bud. So those need to be got out, and so does this basil. It needs to be planted as well. Take a look at all of these blackberries. It's going to be insane harvest this year on blackberries. We went ahead and separated the layer chicks from the meat chicks. I think that white one is, I think that white one up there is one of the broilers, but we'll just pull it out of there. They seem to be really enjoying that stump, the leaves on that stump. But we've put the layers in this little run till they got a little bit bigger to go in with the other chickens. Then we put the broilers that had to be replaced. We put them in with the other broilers, so they're all in there together now, and they're doing great. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a clip from yesterday when we put them in there, so you can see the difference in what just 1 week makes, the difference that it makes in these birds. It's awesome, and we are really enjoying these birds. So take a look. All right, so this one's 5 weeks.
Tilt it down.
And this one is 6 weeks.
Size difference.
1 week. Alright, so I harvested quite a bit of spinach. You can see the before right here, and this is what it looks like after. I got 2 good sized bowls, quite full, very full, pretty packed. I asked for a big bowl and she brought me 2 small bowls. But what I like to do is I like to get those big leaves, any leaves that are touching kind of the ground and stuff. I get them pulled back up. There's a couple that I'll need to come back and get in a day or 2. These are going to continue to grow and get bigger, so all these little baby ones are going to get nice and big like those that I harvested are. And I think I'm gonna, not right now, but in the next couple days, I'm gonna weed this, get all these weeds out of here, grass, seed, whatever it is, get it, and then I'm gonna re-sow some more spinach, because it should still be early enough that I can get it. It grows really, really fast, so I should be able to get a little bit more out. I just have to do that in the next coming days. All right, so now that my chamomile flowers have fully opened, I'm going to teach the kids how to do this, but you just pinch off the heads. You don't want to pull on the plant, but you're pinching off the head.
So the whole
flower comes off.
So like that.
So we're skipping over to the next day. So I harvested all of that spinach and sage and chamomile yesterday. I've just got it drying. I didn't show that, but I've just got it drying, and we're just going to use the spinach fresh. So today we are going to finish planting the garden. So yesterday and today were considered very good for above ground crops, and this weekend is like some of the best days. But it's going to be raining this weekend, so we are going to go ahead and get this all planted today as much as we can. Hopefully we should be able to get everything in somewhere today. So right now we're going to start with our peppers and get them in. So I've told you guys that we've been battling aphids on these peppers for weeks, ever since they've been in the greenhouse. I highly suspect they come in with that rosemary. It seems like every time I get a plant from Lowe's, it has aphids on it, really bad. So I will not be doing that next year, but I'm going to show you how I'm treating them now that they're out in the garden. In the greenhouse, I was going ahead and mixing my neem oil in this, and that was fine. Bees really didn't go in the greenhouse really at all. I've never seen a honeybee in the greenhouse. Now that they're out in the garden, we got to bringing them out to plant them, and I noticed that they look great on the tops, but some of them on the underside of their leaves had aphids really, really bad. I think the worst of them are already sprayed off of most of these, but if you can see right here, these tiny little green flecks. So regardless, aphids are really, really bad for your plants. They have not been on anything else but these peppers. All but my habanadas have had them so far. Some worse than others. I don't know if they just didn't get sprayed as good because they didn't have them when I was spraying in the greenhouse. How I'm treating them out here is I've got my sprayer, and initially I had some soapy water in this, and it's still a little bit soapy. But I mixed 6 teaspoons of dish soap in with a gallon of water, and I poured some in here initially, but I went ahead and poured it out. I poured it into this tray. So the soap and water makes it so they can't really come back. It breaks down their body. So Riley is just kind of tilting the plant for me, and I am just spraying them off into this water. Now this one didn't have that many at all, but I'm still spraying them anyway because I don't want any going into the garden.
You got me like happy.
Just pay close attention to around the buds. That's where I'm finding most of them, where my buds are coming on. That's where they're kind of piling up at. But just spray them off into the water. You'll see all the little green specks in the water, and you know you got some washed off. So it's fixing to rain on us. The first storm missed us, but this next one looks like it's already sprinkling a little bit, so it doesn't look like it's gonna stop. But we did get this whole side in. They're doing the last row now, which is spaghetti squash. So for the peppers, we ended up getting, we could do about 25 plants per row, and we did 3 rows. The first row we did some shishito peppers, some notapino peppers, and some of those habanada peppers. They're the new variety from Baker Creek. And then on the next row we did some bells. We did some California Wonder bells like we did last year, some purple beauty bells we also grew last year, and then that new variety, the Ozark giant bells. They're supposed to be a lot bigger, so we're going to try them and compare them to the California Wonders. So on the last row we've got our jalapenos and our poblanos and our banana peppers. So that is a lot of different kinds of peppers growing in these 3 rows right here. We did about 8 each. Some we did 10, but we just equaled the 25 per row. And I have so many plants left to sell and give away. So I'm going to try to get my greenhouse empty of those tomato and pepper plants in the next few days, so they're not my problem anymore. Since mine are in the ground, I don't want to have to worry about that. We did have one casualty tomato plant one of the kids stepped on, so I've got to go in there and find a replacement for it and fill in that spot. Then for the squash, we actually had quite a few different squashes as well. We did 10 of each of the rondinese and the scallop patty pan squash. Those are both smaller squash in a whole row. And then in the next row we did half and half zucchini and the straight neck yellow squash. So we did 14 total of those, so 7 each. And then we did a whole row. It was almost a whole row. It was just shy of a whole row of the delicata squash. I think I got about 9 of those plants. And then we did about 8 or 9 of the spaghetti squash plants as well. We should have a big squash harvest this year and a big pepper harvest, big tomato harvest. Alright, so I know this is getting to be a very long video. It was over 2 days and I completely forgot to film an ending because the rain came and I never got back outside. But I wanted to go ahead and show you guys this. I shared it on Instagram. This is our garden layout. This is how I draw it out every year. I actually did much better this year. I made measurements and wrote those down, wrote how many seeds we used, how many plants we used, so it's all right there, easy access for us next year. So we really just have to put up our post and mark our rows, and we don't have to measure anything to see how far apart we want it or how far off the bank we need it or anything like that. So we know exactly how many plants or seeds or whatnot that can fit in this space. And I went ahead and made a copy of this blank so I can fill it in next year. But I did want to go ahead and show you guys this because it might be helpful for some of y'all. I just really think that this is super handy. What little bit I wrote down last year was a little bit of a help. but I was much more diligent in making sure I wrote everything down, all the measurements and everything, so I wasn't wondering, oh, I think we did this many tomatoes. We also spaced our tomatoes a little farther apart this year, so we're going to see how that works, and I can note that, and I can change it next year if we don't like it, if we don't like anything, if anything needed adjusting. We can write this down on there and look at it next year and make those adjustments. So I want to thank you guys for watching today, and come along with me. If you don't mind, go ahead and share this with somebody. I'm trying to get over my 5,000 subscribers. So if you have a friend, family member that you think will enjoy my content, let them know and give them, just click share and send them my way, and I'll be very grateful for that. We'll see you next time, and God bless.